Government, cutting cost of government starts with President Tinubu. He needs to cut his cost.
Yes.
All the money that comes to the presidency need to be slashed in half.
Yep.
President Tinubu, you and your wife said you were rich already. Take up some of these bills.
Right.
The same president that his son was using presidential jets, wasn't it?
I saw that video. Yeah, I mean, talking about the visa story.
Personal money to run Nigeria.
Yes. Well,
I'm not saying she use his personal money.
No.
I'm saying
This channel not only feed your eyes with good movies, we also bring you the hottest and the newest trend around the globe. My darlings, sit tight and enjoy this one.
Joining us now is Ojinika Ojiokwe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinix.
I get a special
Thank
one on
God
Friday.
it's Friday.
TGIF, my favorite day of the week. How are you, Dr. Abati? Looking
good.
dapper this Friday. How are you? Good morning, Ayo. How are you?
You're both matching.
Yes, we are. I don't know. I didn't see you this morning, so it's a coincidence. This is nice. I hope you're ready for your exciting new evening tonight.
Ready.
Yes?
Ready to go.
It's the Airpiece 10th anniversary, and our Ayo is hosting. Yay, you're doing very well. So I congratulate
Very good.
Airpiece. Yes.
I hope this station gets commissioned
Yes,
for all
now we
these
need to know what
part-time
you're
jobs that you people are doing.
I'll speak to chairman about that.
Yes, you
yes.
should. Rufy on fire.
You're
How are you
using
this
our
morning?
time.
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic.
Good.
Well, all right. Ayo is so versatile. Yes, I want
It's still our time.
Ayakle is our time.
It's still our time.
Money show ends at 11.
And our brand.
Is our time.
Our brand.
Ayo, you're a phenomenal woman.
Thank
The
you.
woman has been MC before she came to arise.
I said,
Ah.
well, congratulations as well. Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's directive to ministers and heads of federal government agencies to reduce the number of vehicles in their convoy to 3. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, made the announcement in a statement on Thursday, saying that the directive is part of measures to cut the cost of governance. Let me read a part of his tweet. Ononuga wrote on X, the cost-cutting measure was announced today in a statement signed by the president. In January this year, President Tinubu took significant steps to reduce government expenditure by reducing his entourage on foreign trips from 50 to 20 officials. For local trips, he reduced it to 25 officials. He similarly reduced the vice president's entourage to 5 officials on foreign trips and 15 for local trips. In the directive issued today, President Tinubu also ordered all ministers of state and heads of agencies to have at most 5 security personnel attached to them. The security team will comprise 4 police officers and 1 Department of State service officer. No additional security personnel will be assigned, he ordered. President Tinubu instructed the National Security Advisor to engage with the military, paramilitary, and security agencies to determine a suitable reduction in their vehicle and security personnel deployment. All right, let's take some reactions from users on X. This is from Akin, who wrote, "This may be a good beginning if the following are equally reduced. 1. Number of trips out of the capital. 2. Unnecessary workshop that doesn't add to national efficiency. 3. Balanced budget to discourage borrowing. 4. CBN governor should have a limit to what he can buy. 10 billion naira for official cars should be investigated. 5. Office of the First Lady should be scrapped immediately. 6. All contracts must be procured by our rules. Variations should be declared illegal. 7. Wike should show respect to every Nigerian. 8, the president should cut his trips. I mean, that was so funny. Not as funny, given that Wike only last week told people to shut up if you think you know something. Then let me take another tweet. This person wrote, let's give a resounding round of applause to our dear President Tinubu for his cost-cutting measure he just announced. I love President Tinubu. What about you? Another Twitter user, Gutson, he wrote, my question is, what benefit will this reduction in cost of governance have on ordinary Nigerians? There is nothing to applaud the president for. Nigeria is in a state of nowhere. Fix that 89% of Nigerians can barely feed because of the high cost of foodstuff. Fix that. Dr. Abatia, you want to speak on this story?
Okay, very quickly. It's interesting that the presidency is now talking about reducing the cost of governance. Almost 2 days after that, the president himself further bloated the size of government. We had previously 45 ministers. By your own calculation yesterday, and by other people's calculation, we now have 48, which means the bureaucracy gets more bloated. Number 2, we've been talking about the Oronsanye report, which, recommended a leaner government. The Tinubu government at the time said they were going to deal with that report and implement it. This is almost the end of 2024. Nothing has been done. What we've been seeing, it's just cosmetic gestures. In January, the president said, he will reduce the number of entourage. But the same president has traveled 29 times in 17 months. The vice president has traveled 17 times in 17 months. It will have become 19, I think, if he had gone to Samoa, Apia Samoa, except that the windshield of the aircraft, was said to have been damaged in New York. I don't know how that could have happened. But we have enough aircraft in the field. They could have sent him another aircraft in any case. But they say somebody else, one Mr. Lawal, we now go to Samoa, where an important conversation is taking place. But I digress. Now, again, in 2003, the Obasanjo administration addressed this issue of cost of governance by introducing a monetization policy. Under the monetization policy, things like civil servant, domestic servant allowance, medical allowance, housing allowance, vehicle utility allowance, and all these allowances were monetized and put into the salaries of public officials. For persons above level 8, from level 8 and above, 200% of annual salary. The question to ask is, what happened to monetization policy? Because the statement by Mr. Ononuga is saying, a minister cannot go about with more than 3 vehicles. Who is providing those vehicles? Is it not covered by monetization policy? Has the monetization policy of Nigeria, has it been abandoned? And then security personnel, 4 policemen, 1 DSS detail. Okay, maybe because these are persons of interest, VIP movement. But those vehicles, who is maintaining them? Money was even provided for vehicle loan and for fuel under monetization policy. I think that's a bigger issue added to the other issue about, how to have a lean government. The Tinubu government keeps getting fatter and fatter, and yet we get this occasional thing about cosmetic gestures, about reducing the cost of governance. No, they are not reducing the cost of governance. I will believe that they are reducing the cost of governance when senators and House of Reps members stop going about in long convoys, and the president comes to Lagos and he himself uses just 3 cars.
Yes, show by example.
And we don't see any long convoy.
Fantastic, fantastic, Dr. Abati. You cannot be more correct. Lead by example. Rufi.
So Dr. Abati here always tells a story of when they went to the Netherlands to meet, it was Mark Rutte then, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands. I want everybody watching me out there to please check the GDP of the Netherlands. And the Prime Minister was riding a bicycle. And also, please check the GDP of Nigeria. And President Tinubu just bought a big jet for himself. The first way to cut cost of governance is to cut that jet off. That plane is too big, Oji. The government has not given us in calculative cost how much it costs to fuel that jet for every trip it takes. We need to be able to get to the end of that matter. Secondly, I mean, we've talked about how bloated the cabinet is.
Yeah.
But even some decisions bringing about a livestock ministry, which should be normally under the agricultural ministry.
We've talked about it. Under agriculture,
and
yes.
You are trying to subsume a Niger Delta ministry, which is the key productive part of this country. Most of the forex of this country come from that Niger Delta ministry. So you wonder how we're thinking.
Yeah.
And most of the hitherto cuts that they've made in government, how has it changed anything? Did they even follow the cuts? The office of the the first lady, the other day, she was telling porkies by saying that, oh, nothing comes to our office. But we found out that it was all porkies, that over billions were allocated for her to buy cars. Also, all sorts of government shenanigans, projects and everything. Recently, we brought out a stat that says how many billion was spent on getting visas for government officials.
Yes, that's what
So the true cost of government, cutting cost of government starts with President Tinubu. He needs to cost his cost.
Yes.
All the money that comes to the presidency need to be slashed in half.
Yep.
President Tinubu, you and your wife said you were rich already. Take up some of these bills. The same president that his son was using presidential jets, wasn't it?
I saw that video. Yeah, I mean, talking about the visa story.
Personal money to run Nigeria.
Yes. Well,
I'm not saying you should use his personal money. No. I'm saying because of your own personal money, cut some of these luxurious costs. We can't afford your lifestyle. We knew you were already rich before. You had your own private jet before you came to be president of Nigeria.
Rufai,
we're saying cut your own lifestyle.
Talking about
we can't afford your luxuries.
Rufai, talking about the private jet, somebody just sent me a video of the Singaporean PM, Lawrence Wong, traveling on a commercial flight after state protocols. But I mean, I know that it's going to be a huge, a far-fetched idea for Nigeria for now, for using, I mean, commercial.
British PM flies British Airways.
British Airways. Yes. This is the Singaporean PM flying commercial. But I mean,
sell off that big jet. Call the likes of Airpeace or other Nigerian airlines. Tell them to allot one jet that you can use for your foreign travels. Sell off that big jet. It's too costly, too expensive for us.
Well, a good point as well, Rufai. It was 44 million naira in 1 month on visas for presidential aid. I mean, come on. Something's got to give, as we always say.
Some of those visas are sometimes given gratis.
Yeah, well, those sort of conversations, when ordinary Nigerians see, they just, you know, they have no other option but to really complain. But in the meantime, the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, on Thursday distributed 1,200 bags of rice to rural women, vulnerable and less privileged individuals in Anambra State to help cushion the effects of economic hardship. Well, Tinubu was represented by the wife of the Anambra State Governor, Dr. Nonye Soludo.
So they don't collect the attack now. You understand? Because they say that we hold the attack. One time people come collect, I carry like 10 bags.
101 to 200. 101 to 200.
Rufai said rice kimono, everything now rice. I mean, but people are saying that, you know, this distribution in Anambra State might be strategic as well. But let me take a story so you can tie that together. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has reacted to a video showing.
You're watching Nolly Magic TV. My joy is to keep you updated with the latest gist. And your joy should be subscribing to this channel and giving this video a thumbs up, please.
Some residents of Cross River State scooping petrol from a fallen tanker just days after the Jigawa disaster. Let's take a look at that video before we take Atiku's tweet. This is still so shocking to me, Ayo. But let me take Atiku's tweet. He wrote on X yesterday, "I know that the times are tough for Nigerians. It has even been made more challenging by the trial and error policies of this bumbling administration. However, your lives are the most precious things that should never be mortgaged. This is why it is pertinent that the concerned government, MDAs, should commence a robust campaign to educate citizens on the dangers of scooping fuel from falling petroleum tankers. Your lives matter to you and your loved ones. Scooping petrol, a highly flammable liquid from a fallen tanker, is a suicide that no one should undertake. We've experienced too many tragedies from incidents such as the latest one in Cross River State, and everything must be done to avert another.
Absolutely, very well said. It's sad that despite the awareness raised, over about 140 people died in Jigawa State, a national tragedy. We talked about how dangerous it is. Yes, people are desperate, people are hungry, people want to make a quick buck here and there, but it's not worth it at the expense of your life. And I certainly agree with him that perhaps now that we see that it's a menace that's not going away because a lot of people are largely ignorant, just want to take a chance. And look at the number of vehicles around, driving around, the disaster that would have occurred if there was a spark. Look at that. Look at the road. It wouldn't just be the people scooping fuel. It would be the people on the road. As look at that tankers. There was traffic just by the side. It would have been an absolute disaster. I think beyond that, there should actually be punishments for people. I said yes, there should actually be arrests made, and there should be punishments. Because it's so bad, and the level of disaster and loss of lives that happens at the risk of this scooping of fuel, there should possibly be punitive measures, make it criminal offense, so that people understand the seriousness of this thing. Because when we're talking about this, it's not those who scoop the fuel alone that will be affected. Even innocent bystanders who have nothing to do with this would also be affected. So awareness, and kudos to the National Orientation Agency. We've seen a lot more campaign in terms of information given in recent times. We've talked about it, and so it's great to see them actually become very proactive. So perhaps this is one campaign that should also be taken, not just by them, but even players in the oil and gas industry as part of their CSR, raise awareness. Then going back to the First Lady's gift to Anambra State. You see, Oji, there's nothing wrong with giving people food, especially at a time like this where a lot of people are hungry. But the challenge is that we've become a rice economy where everything or any problem is still rice. Problem, give rice. So it's the Renewed Hope and Rice Initiative, if I wanted to expand the name, whereby almost every problem, rice seems to tackle it. What then happens is that we almost socialize people into thinking that stomach or very low-level things for them to aspire to. We are not empowering people in the way that, not just giving them fish, but giving them the ability to be able to fish. And that's the challenge. So everybody is now looking at rice as a solution, as a savior, when we should be looking at more sustainable things to do for the people to ensure that not only can they afford to buy rice, but they themselves can become givers of rice to people. Absolutely. We need to move away from the rice economy and rice solution-driven initiatives to actually empower them. But kudos to her, well done, but I think there can be more that can be done.
I love that. We need to move away from the palliative economy, because that's what we're running here in Nigeria. Absolutely.
Anything, give rice.
But did your governor increase the minimum wage to 80 or 85,000? It was 85,000. But well, in Enugu State, the governor of the state, Dr. Peter Mba, has approved 80,000 naira minimum wage for state workforce, including local government workers, effective October 2024. I mean, the state governors are putting, some addition to the 70,000. I love that, some of them are taking initiative and doing that. Kudos to the Enugu state government. But they sent me a video. Some people sent me a video on social media to show the mood of the people in Enugu state. Let's just, for laughs, let's take a look at that video. Just to cheer our viewers up. But Rufai, I'm sure you can dance better than that man. I'm sure. I saw you already moving. Well, all right. We'll take another story. The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has debunked allegations of her involvement in facilitating a $57.5 billion loan for the Biafra Republic government in exile. The rumor emanated from Biafran agitator Simon Ekpa, who reported the claim in the now-deleted post on X. Well, according to Ekpa, the funds were meant to support the formation of a new government following a proposed declaration of Biafra independence on December 2nd, 2024. Well, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala took to X to debunk the claim. She wrote, "I know no sensible person will believe what is contained in the outrageous tweet below, But in these troubled times, it is important to underscore that the statement is false. Again, I enjoin all those seeking to misuse my name to desist. I mean, this was a trending tweet. I think it is important that the WTO boss DG actually debunked this claim. Well, in the same vein, the Central Bank of Nigeria has clarified that there is no deadline for the circulation of old Naira notes, dispelling rumors that the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira bank loans will cease to be legal tender by December 31st, 2024. The announcement came in a statement by the Acting Director of Corporate Communications, Hakama Sidi Ali. She stressed that the claims are false and intended to cause confusion within the country's payment system and urged the public to disregard any information suggesting otherwise and emphasize that all Naira bank notes will remain legal tender indefinitely. A quick comment, Dr. Abati, on both stories, then I take this story quickly.
Okay, well, the first story, Simon Ekpa. Well, or rather, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said she doesn't think that any sensible person would believe that post by Simon Ekpa. Well, I think I consider myself a very sensible person. So I don't believe what Simon Ekpa posted about Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala or anything posted by Simon Ekpa at all. A man that the Nigerian government should be asking for his extradition, particularly with his, anti-Nigerian, anti-nationalistic, conduct. So I agree absolutely with Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala on that score. Secondly, she said that she never at any time provided any support for any Biafra government in exile or facilitated their getting anything called, support of 57.5 billion loan from either the IMF and the World Bank. And she made the third point, that nobody should use a name in vain. Because using a name in vain, well, people should know that they are working in the territory of, illegal action. But I think the clarification is important.
Yes.
And Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is a distinguished citizen.
Absolutely.
Far more patriotic.
Yeah.
I'm a far more credible ambassador of the Nigerian state than the likes of Simon Ekpa.
True patient.
Now, to the second point about the
CBN.
deadline. Well, I thought that there's some confusion here. Victor Ogene, well, he's a journalist, so that's why I call him with such familiarity. Honorable Victor Ogene was the one who brought the motion, in the House of Reps yesterday. That, look, there's a deadline, a CBN, a Supreme Court deadline, that by December 31, 2024, these old notes of 500 Naira, 200 Naira, 1,000 Naira notes should have been phased out. And he was saying, as a matter of urgent national importance, what happens on January 1, 2025? But Mrs. Sidi Ali Akama of the speaking for the CBN has now issued another statement saying that, we can continue to spend the old Naira notes indefinitely. Where the confusion is that is the CBN overruling the Supreme Court. She says, there's a line in her statement, that the CBN is appealing to the authorities to see how the order can be vacated.
Right.
But the bigger concern is that the banks don't have money, either old or new.
That's the point.
The second point is that you get more money from these people
POS,
by the roadside, POS people, than you will get at the bank. The banks are perpetually protesting when their payment system is not going off, they have no new notes, and when they give you new notes, they are the kind of disease-conveying notes that can give you infection. These are issues that the CBN should address. Right. It's not enough to just issue one statement and say you can continue to spend money. No, they're endangering our lives with their dirty notes, and they are making things difficult for us by saying that we cannot have access to our money.
All right, Dr. Abati, good point. Rufi.
A lot of people might have fallen for that rubbish Simon Ekpa wrote. But please, for the sake of everybody out there that gets information from social media, what you do is when you see stories like that, put it across the litmus test. Check other websites of prominent news companies.
Okay.
If it's reported there, check at least close to 5. In Nigeria, there are some we call the big 5 newspapers and other mediums like that. Check for your own sanity. It's also very important. And also, there's also something called community rules and community reporting. I'm sure that will have been reported on community rules on Twitter already. Secondly, as regards the CBN matter, You see, when we're telling Nigerian politicians that please, do not usurp the independence of the CBN because you want to win elections. Because the only reason they did that was because they wanted to win elections. That's why they went against the CBN, because the Naira policy was not going to favor them.
All right.
Now the confusion is already on ground. A court judgment subsists. It's either they go back to the Supreme Court to review the judgment, or they make a sunset clause finally on this once again. Because this problem, spending all of this no side by side, is already the cause for inflation.
All right.
And money in circulation is well over the threshold that is supposed to be because of this judgment. And this is a shame to the politicians. For all of you that put the CBN down because you wanted to win elections, this is on you.
Well, all right. We'll take our final story and I will discuss this. It's such an important story. We'll take our final story in the United States, where two brothers, Eric and Lai Mendes, who were convicted of murdering their parents in a case that shook America more than 3 decades ago, are a step closer to being released on parole. On Thursday, a Los Angeles County District Attorney recommended that Mendes brothers be resentenced by a judge because new evidence merited a review. The 1989 murders of the Mendeses in their Beverly Hills mansion have gripped the U.S. for years, recently inspiring a popular Netflix series, Monster, the Lyle and Eric Mendes story. All right, this Netflix story has gone viral. By now, a lot of people must have seen, I'm sure you have read and have seen this story. But you know, for the brothers to gain their freedom, a judge will have to agree with the recommendation and then a parole board approve their release. I mean, this is a case of, abuse, child abuse. I mean, one of the brothers claimed that, the father was molesting him, sexually abusing him for years, and that's why, he killed his father, and obviously the mother died. So the question a lot of people were asking at the time, why was the mother a victim as well? But the response is that the woman was, aiding the crime, enabling the crime. And that is the issue about child abuse that we've only just talked about yesterday. And I must say, I have been shocked at the amount of response from the story we took yesterday about child abuse and the amount of people that are supporting violence against children. I saw people saying I'm a bad mother because I don't I don't agree to using physical force on your child. There are different ways again to discipline your children. You can punish them. You can send them to cut grass. I know that you can cut grass with blisters on your feet. So many different ways to discipline your children. I mean, they say you're a millennial mother because you're advocating for, no corporal punishment. Your point, really quickly. Yeah.
This happened the sentence was in 1980.
Yes.
Jose and Kitty Menendez were the names of their parents, and they were shot while watching a movie 13 times, multiple times. The new evidence suggests that emotional, physical, and sexual abuse was involved.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then the boys might have acted in self-defense, protecting themselves. Yeah. And then it opens up this conversation around parenting, the same Bible abuse. That says, spare the rod, spoil the child, says parents do not provoke your children. I think it's important to state that, but we'll see how this works
We'll follow up on the story. Yes. Well, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all next week.
Thank you for having stayed to the end of this video. You made me really happy. One more thing, click on the notification bell so anytime I do video, you will be the first to be notified. See you on the next one.